Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Hammy Reacts, where I usually react to stuff, but today we're doing something a little bit different. With all the Spider-Man buzz that we've got going nowadays, I did my reaction to Spider-Man No Way Home, I did my trailer reaction to Spider-Man No Way Home, I did my review, this full spoiler review, all of that is in the channel. I'll leave links to those in the video. But now that I've had time to watch the film 3 times, seen it 3 times in the cinema now. Now that I've seen it and kind of digested it a bit more and thought about it, I thought it would be a great time to come up with my personal list of Spider-Man movies and ranking them from worst to best. Just a bit of a disclaimer, this is my personal entirely subjective can't speak today, getting too excited. This is my personal list. So you may agree with it, you may think, yep, got all those spot on, or you might disagree completely and think, Hammy, you're talking a load of nonsense, you don't even know anything about Spider-Man films. Maybe that's the case, maybe it's not, but this is my list. And a lot of this is based on not in a filmmaking sense of, oh wow, how good are these in terms of films and how well they're constructed in terms of filmmaking and all the technicalities and all that. That's not what we're here for. This is just purely based on how much fun I had with these movies. How rewatchable are they? That's always a big thing for me. If I can rewatch them and enjoy them, equally over and over again, that's a big factor and bumps it up the list. And yeah, just how good they are as Spider-Man films and telling a Spider-Man story. So, with that out of the way, let's get to number 9. So, number 9 is not the most memorable one. You might think it's maybe Spider-Man 3, but for me, it's The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now, I love Andrew Garfield. The Amazing Spider-Man is further up on the list, but number 2 is just not very memorable. There's too much going on, and it was a bit silly, it was a bit rushed. And yeah, I just don't find myself very very hyped when I come to watch it. I do watch it. Like I said, I do love all the Spider-Man films, even the rubbish ones, even the ones that aren't that great. I still enjoy watching them because it is Spider-Man and it is my favorite character. But that aside, I can be critical and say that this is just not a great movie. Green Goblin part was rushed. Dane DeHaan did a decent job on it, not gonna lie, he did a decent job. Electro was a bit silly, and yeah, I can't really. The only thing that really sticks out to me from that movie, and I think it's the same for everyone, is the Gwen Stacy scene. That is kind of what I think everyone remembers, and you can always see it on TikTok and Instagram, references and re-edits of that clip. So yeah, that's probably like saving grace, I guess, of that film. Yeah, not really much going on with Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, not so amazing. I will say what I did enjoy was Andrew Garfield was great again as Spider-Man, and Peter Parker and his relationship with Gwen really kind of you can see there's tension there and there's tugging and pulling and the will they won't they, which kind of amidst all the other villainy stuff going on, that's always that's enjoyable for me anyway, to see those emotional connections and relationships between characters. So yeah, number 9 is The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now the next one, I actually think this one is quite fun. It gets a bad rap. It gets a really bad rap in terms of where it lists in the Spider-Man rankings. But The Amazing Spider-Man 3, no, that's wrong. There isn't an Amazing Spider-Man 3. We want an Amazing Spider-Man 3. The Spider-Man 3 from 2007, that's the one I'm talking about, with Venom, with Sandman, with Green Goblin again, or New Goblin, maybe you call him New Goblin, I don't know, with James Franco. I actually don't think this is a terrible movie. Yes, it's got some bad parts in it. It's a bit goofy. We don't like the jazz club and the dancing. Yes, I get it. Let's get those stuff out of the way. I'm going to tell you what I loved about this movie. I love the black Spidey suit. I think that was great. It looks cool on screen. If you know the comics and kind of the cartoons, you really want to see Spidey dig into that darker side of him. I like seeing that. I like seeing the more aggressive kind of Tobey Maguire Peter Parker. So that was fun. I liked the final battle. I still remember watching it in the cinema where he's getting absolutely smashed by Sandman, and Venom's like holding him by his neck, and it really is brutal. And that final fight was cool. So yeah, it's not a terrible movie, but yeah, it's not great either. Venom, as far as I'm concerned, I'm sorry if you're a fan of the two Venom movies. Venom 1 wasn't bad. Venom Let There Be Carnage is terrible, but as far as I'm concerned, they haven't done a good Venom live action adaptation yet. I'm not a huge fan of the buddy cop, jokey Venom. There might be different iterations of him in the comics. I don't really know about that. As a personal preference, I want Venom to be stuff of nightmares. I want him to be really scary. And when I think of Venom, I think of Venom from the 90s animated series, where he doesn't, trigger off Spidey sense. He's a demon. He's really just the stuff of nightmares. And I don't feel like Spider-Man 3 got that right, and Venom films definitely aren't getting that right. So yeah, that's number 8 for me, Spider-Man 3 from 2007. Next, we are going up into the more recent films of Spider-Man. This one might surprise you because it'll probably be higher up on the list for other people than it is for me. But for me, at number 7 is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I liked the film when I first saw it in the cinema. I thought it was good, but I didn't get the hype. I wasn't as hyped, and it's kind of grown on me a bit. And I watch it, I could stick it on now a bit more. It's a bit more rewatchable for me. But to begin with, I didn't get the hype, and I'm sorry, but I didn't buy into Miles Morales as Spider-Man to begin with. I've said this in previous videos. I'm a bit of a traditionalist when it comes to Spider-Man. I just want my Peter Parker Spider-Man in his red and blue costume doing his thing. That's kind of all I'm here for. But I am open to like other Spider-Man, and that's cool. So having said that, I have been enjoying the Miles Morales game and seeing more of his power. So I think I'll admit it's on my part that I don't actually know that much about Miles Morales because I am just so concerned with Peter Parker. But talking about the movie, it was a lot of fun. I didn't expect it to be as fun as it was, and I really didn't expect the animation style. I liked seeing the different Spider-Men from different universes interact. That was cool. I really actually enjoyed seeing the older Peter Parker in his joggers and just the little Easter eggs and references to the other films. That was a lot of fun. So it is a film that just grew on me. I didn't love it. I'm not going to pretend that I loved it just like everyone else because that wouldn't be a true reflection. But yeah, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, number 7. Number 6 is The Amazing Spider-Man 1. I really enjoyed this film. I feel bad for Andrew Garfield because he hasn't been given the best Spider-Man movies. This one was a bit better than the second one. I love seeing an origin story, and I like seeing this one was a little bit different. You've got a bit of the mystery of what happened to his parents kind of underlying on the storyline. But yeah, this was the first Spider-Man we'd had since 2007. This is 2012. Spider-Man's back on the screen, and it's Andrew Garfield that's playing him. And he does a great job. I really, really like Andrew Garfield. And I think, like most people, we love him a bit more after No Way Home. Spoiler. I mean, come on, you've probably seen the film right now. If you're interested in a Spider-Man video on YouTube, you've probably seen it by now. So yeah, that's a spoiler. He is in Spider-Man No Way Home, and he's even better in that than he is in the first two. So I liked seeing this new kind of version of Peter Parker. I liked to see kind of how Andrew Garfield puts his own twist in it, and I really remember loving the awkwardness of Peter Parker, and he's talking to Gwen, and she's like really confident and stuff, and he's just like blah, 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 blah. And then I also liked kind of when he goes back and forth with, I think it's Captain Stacy. Just standing up for Spider-Man, I think he's doing the right thing, and doing the police's job and all that kind of stuff. So he brings a good, fun dynamicness to it that wasn't quite there with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. As great as Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is, it wasn't as, he brings a bit more life into it. You've got more of the quips and the jokiness. I'll often refer back to the 90s Spider-Man that I've grown up watching, and that'll kind of be my frame of reference and measuring stick, if you like. So we get a bit more of that in this, the dad jokes and the one-liners and quips from it. Yeah, he plays a great Spider-Man. I think the consensus so far in the 3 iterations of Spider-Man that we've had is that Tobey Maguire is a good Peter Parker, Andrew Garfield is a good Spider-Man, but then Tom Holland brings them both together, and he is a good blend of both. I would agree with that. I think that's pretty fair. So yeah, another thing on the Amazing Spider-Man 1, they brought in a new villain that we hadn't seen on screen before, the Lizard. It was a decent villain. Plot in terms of what the villain wanted to do wasn't all that interesting. It's infect the city, take over the city, or take over the world, make everyone lizards. Okay, fine. So yeah, that was it was what it was. So yeah, the Amazing Spider-Man 1 is at number 6. Now we're going into, I've got notes here as well. That's how prepared I am for these videos. Boom. Okay, so we're going into the top 5. And the next one I've got is Far From Home. Spider-Man Far From Home. Can't speak today. Spider-Man Far From Home, 2019. I actually thought that was really good. And this one is one that's growing on me. And I find it's getting more and more rewatchable for me. Yeah, I think it was a good setup for the multiverse. It did enough to set up different things. Obviously we had the bomb of the reveal at the end. Yeah, I think this was a really fun movie that kind of took it away from being Spider-Man in New York, what we know, and just taking Spider-Man literally across the world. And I thought that was fun. What the Home trilogy, I guess you want to call it, with the Tom Holland one, have really done is continuously built on the fact that Peter Parker is a young kid. He just wants to do regular teenage stuff. And he's not getting to because obviously he has a great power, and with great power comes, we all know the rest. Anyways, so yeah, I thought it was a good, fun kind of road trip film spliced together with Spider-Man in there. Jake Gyllenhaal, let's talk about him as Mysterio. He was good, he was fun, very charismatic as always. Jake Gyllenhaal is. My favorite part of these movies was definitely the illusion scene. Really, really well done. Messing with Spider-Man's head, not being sure what's real, and just kind of really honing into the fact that Tony Stark, Iron Man's gone. How do you deal with that shadow, that weight on your shoulders? I think they did a good job of it. And I appreciate the fact that they were moving a bit more away from that. And they were, thinking, okay, you can see he's kind of graduated to the next class, and he's not got as much training wheels and stuff on him. He's got to deal with some stuff on his own. That was quite good. Another really strong point, I think, in this film is MJ and Peter's relationship. You see it really starting to blossom and really, again, I really like awkward interactions. They go into the opera and it's like, oh, do you want to save me? Shall I save your seat? Yeah, that'll be nice. Or you look great. All these teenage quirks and stuff. I think they do a good job of that, and they show that really, really well. Number 4. Now, I think the next 4, definitely the next 2. These next 2 in the top 4 could be flipped. So these aren't, I guess it's just depending on what day it is. It depends on, the kind of mood I'm in. But for now, number 4 is Spider-Man Homecoming. I love the fact that we're back to basics, kind of. We're back to, we've been at the massive level of Civil War, but now we're coming straight back down to neighborhood level. We're coming back to New York. We're dealing with crime, organized crime, and we're dealing with the Vulture. There's nothing large, apart from obviously Iron Man, there's nothing larger going MCU-wise. You know, there aren't all these tie-ins and stuff. We're just focusing on Spider-Man. That was great. It was great to see that scale come back down. And yeah, it was good to see this sort of new take on him. And just kind of let Spider-Man, you know, we've just had him introduced into Civil War. Now let's see what he can do. One detraction from this, and this kind of goes for No Way Home. It just goes in general for Spider-Man in the MCU up until No Way Home, is that he has all the Iron Man tech, which I don't like. I want him to be Spider-Man. I just want him to sling about with his web shooters and come up with, you know, solutions himself. So yeah, that's, you know, what's her name in his head saying, oh, you've got 500 million web shooter combinations. I don't need that. Spider-Man, you don't need that. You're strong enough, you can catch a flying bus. But anyways, we get that. But it was good to see another kind of version of Spider-Man and just see what's happening there. You know, how does he deal with things on his own? He messes up a lot, which is good to see, I think. And he kind of gets mentored by Tony Stark. So number 4, Spider-Man No Way Home. Top 3. Now we're into the top 3, the cream of the crop. The next one is, and this I think is probably going to be at the top of most people's lists. Isn't on the top of mine. You'll see why in a minute, but it's Dr. Octopus's one. I was about to say Doctor Strange, but it's not. It's Spider-Man 2 from 2004. So we've just had, in 2002, we've had the introduction to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. It's amazing. We all love it. And then in swoops Spider-Man 2. And we've got Doc Ock. And for some people, this is the best of Spider-Man films. I can see why they think that is. Alfred Molina brings a lot into this in terms of it making it a good villain. You genuinely see someone who's lost everything and you just want to rebuild what they do. And yeah, the chip controls their head and they don't really know what they're doing. It was great to see Spider-Man's own struggles within, seeing him struggling, getting a web block, as we found out. That's what it was called, having a web block and, you know, losing his powers a bit. All that kind of stuff was a lot of fun. And really just seeing, oh my God, what's going to happen if Spider-Man, obviously we know at the end he's going to come back, but the way he comes back, he comes out of the rubble, he jumps out of the rubble, and he drops his glasses, clenches his fist, and he's like, I'm going to fuck him up. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. And yeah, just the fight scenes are great with Dr. Octopus, you know, and trying to dodge all the arms and the rest of it. Yeah, a solid film. Top 3 Spider-Man films, but not number 1. What's number 2? Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, it's not number 1. It's number 2. Because it's not a perfect movie. It's close. I feel like I would only be giving it number 1. If I was giving it number 1, I would only be giving it because of the multi-Spider-Man thing. I don't think that's fair. I can't give it a number 1 based on that. But I'll tell you why it is number 2. It's an emotional movie. It is darker than most Spider-Man films we've had. The villains that come back, their performances from the original one, they've upped themselves. They up their game. Everyone ups their game in this. Tom Holland ups his game in his performance as Spider-Man / Peter Parker. Ned and MJ up their game. Their dynamic is even better than ever. Andrew Garfield. Like, a lot of people are clamoring for Amazing Spider-Man 3 just based on this. Like, Andrew Garfield, I think he was the best Spider-Man in this movie. And like, okay, so if you take Spider-Man from before the point that they come in, the 2 Spider-Man, Tom Holland does a great performance. But then once you've got Andrew Garfield coming, oh man, the way he's talking about Uncle Ben, the way when he catches Gwen. Anyway, this is not about Andrew Garfield. I'm going off on a tangent, but it's a great movie. There's the fan service, of course there is. What did you expect? It was going to be in a film like this, but they did it so well. And they didn't go crazy with it. They could have gone crazy. They could have thrown everybody in. We could have had in X-Men and Fantastic Four and the whole multiverse cracked open. And your nan was fighting Spider-Man as well, but she wasn't. She could have been fighting Spider-Man, but she didn't. She stayed home with her cup of tea and biscuits. So, why is this at number 2? It's because it makes me feel, or made me feel, how I was when I watched what's number 1 on the list. And if you've done process of elimination, you know that what number 1 is. Anyway, this made me feel like a kid again. This really, really did. It just kind of blew my mind. The story was emotional. Aunt May died. I love the fact that they did Aunt May as the Uncle Ben moment. I thought that was really clever. That was because we were all like, who's Uncle Ben? Does Uncle Ben exist? We don't know. And then, no, there isn't Uncle Ben. It's Aunt May that delivers the line. So I thought that was great. The action, the violence was brutal. Oh, seeing Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe was even better. Like I said, everyone ups their game in this one. So yeah, it's a darker, more emotional movie. The story is great. Like let's not get away from it. It's a good story. Some plot holes, yes, granted. Which film doesn't have plot holes? Most films do. Some big plot holes, but you know what? It's a great movie. That's why it's made over $1 billion in 12 days. So it was a great movie. But number one has to be the OG, the original, the one that started it all. And without this one, you wouldn't have No Way Home. And that is Spider-Man 1 from 2002, which in May will become 20 years old. Just think about that. That will make you feel old. It's going to be 20 years old. Matrix just turned 20 years old, I think. No, Lord of the Rings did. Harry Potter's. Everyone's turning 20. We're going into things that I watched as a kid turning 20 years old. So this means that when Spider-Man 1 came out in 2002, I was 8 years old. And it blew my mind. There's so many iconic moments in this film. So many classic moments that I loved. One thing about me when it comes to movies, especially superhero movies, I love origin stories. I don't care what anyone says. I love them. I want to see Martha and Thomas Wayne get shot in the alley a million times. I want to see Uncle Ben die a million times. I don't care. I love when there's origin stories. I love when there's montages of the hero discovering his powers, making their suit, doing training montages, and you get all of that in here. I loved it. Ate it up every second, and I still love watching it today. Yes, it is still a bit comic book and campy. You've got Green Goblin, played greatly by Willem Dafoe. And he was scary, man. As an 8-year-old, he was scary. That guy, when he's speaking, that messes me up in the head still. As a kid, it messed me up, and it's still like, how did Willem Dafoe do that in that movie? He's talking at the camera, but then the other voice, like, I can wrap my head around it. But this is a movie that started off for me. It made me stick to my walls and pretend I'm Spider-Man at like the top of the stairs where I could have fallen and broken a leg. This is the movie that I bought like a web shooter with a can for. If you know what I'm talking about. Bought the glove with a can and web shooter. I got my mum to make me a mask out of cloth. She sewed it together, put felt-tip marker, and I was like wore it. And this is the movie that started off. So without this one, we wouldn't really have anything else. So it's a great film, and I still enjoy it all the time. Anyways, that is my list of Spider-Man movies. Let's just run them down quickly. Let's see. At number 9, we've got The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Good movie, decent movie, but not amazing. Then we've got Spider-Man 3 at number 8. At number 7, we've got Into the Spider-Verse. I was late on the train with this one. so I didn't love it as much as everyone else did. Then we've got The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and number 6. Then number 5, Spider-Man Far From Home. Number 4, Spider-Man Homecoming. And number 3, Spider-Man 2. And number 2, Spider-Man No Way Home, bringing in all that multiverse madness. And then the GOAT, the king of all Spider-Man movies so far, so not set in stone, Spider-Man 1 from 2002. There you go. That's my list. What do you think? Do you agree? If you agree, great. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video. If you have a different list, drop it in the comment section. I want to know what that list is. Maybe I'll disagree with it. Maybe I'll agree with it. Maybe I'll be like, you're making a good point there. So yeah, whatever your thoughts are. So I got a bit wild in this video. I got a bit excited. Anytime it's Spider-Man again, it's just something, my Spidey tingle happens. Don't make that dirty. Anyways, guys, thanks for joining me on this 20+ minute video where I'm just blabbering about Spider-Man. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see more content that isn't as wild as this, subscribe, because I promise it will come. Give me a thumbs up as well. And I'll catch you next time. Take care, guys. Bye.